Hi Neighborhood Networks, Rossie Stone here again, and this week we are going to be revisiting how to draw hands. Now, with hands, they can be really annoying, really complex. Some artists actually leave them out altogether because they're just so much trouble, because of all the different bits that are involved. The fingers and the different joints of the fingers, the palm of the hand, and how it sort of changes depending what angle you look at it. It can be really quite annoying, and also there's all the different gestures you can do with hands. It makes them really useful body bits, not just for function but for communication, but when it comes to drawing them, yeah, they can be a bit of a pain. So what I'm going to show you is a really nice and simple way to draw hands at their basics. And once you know this stuff, it's a lot easier to continue on to trying them out in more complex positions and gestures. And this is going by the technique I teach in my classes all the time, which is starting off with shapes. Everything I draw, particularly with cartoons, I start off with shapes, circles and squares and all sorts of things, and then I go over with the detail afterwards. So when drawing a hand, what you want to start off with is two circles, a square, and the letter D, a big letter D, the same size as the square and circle. And these four shapes are going to be the base of your hand, the part of the hand that doesn't include the thumb, or maybe it includes the base of the thumb, but it doesn't include the fingers or the wrist. Then you want to put the four sausages on top. They can be detached from the main shapes, but these sausages are going to be the fingers. And you have a shorter sausage, which will be the thumb. And you place that across from the D. The D is going to be that fleshy part of your thumb that is attached to the base of the hand. And then finally, you want to do a rectangle for the wrist. And this is going to show you, this is going to show the part, of course, that is attached to the base of the hand. So once you've got all the shapes, you then want to go and fill out all the details. It's whenever you're practicing these drawing tutorials of mine, I recommend using a pencil so you can rub out the base shapes afterwards. But if you're using a pen, it's fine. It can still help you learn the basics of what's going on here. And it's probably easier to refer back to if you don't rub the shapes out. So anyway, you can go over with the details. There's the fingers, there's the thumb, and I've put a couple of lines in to show where the fingers end and where the thumb fleshy part is located in the hand. You know, just these lines help it feel a bit more real and three-dimensional. And then when I get rid of the roughs, you can see a nice clean hand there. And so that's the basics. It's quite simple when you boil it all down and when you practice it a bit. So just to go over it again really quickly, two circles, a square, and a D, with some sausages, 4 to be precise, and a shorter one for the thumb. And then when you're fleshing it out, add a few extra lines just to get the detail in there. So whether you're doing the front or the back of the hand, it's the same sort of rules. But if you're doing left or right hand, that will obviously influence what side the D and the square is on. You know, this is quite clearly a right hand. It's like you're looking at your right hand. But if you were looking at your left hand, the D and the square would be on the other side. So trying this hand gesture in a few other poses. Well, you can do one like here, where it's got the fingers all bunched up like a fist. And for this one, when you bunch up your fist in your hand, you can see that the fingers actually get a bit shorter. And so basically all you want to do there is squash your sausages and have your thumb closing over it. And that covers pretty much the upper circle and the square. So when drawing that and looking at a bunched up fist, remember that that covers the top half of the base of your hand. And when you do that, the rest of it is pretty straightforward. Suddenly it looks like bunched up knuckles. As for if you're doing a hand pointing, it's pretty straightforward again. You just do the same as if you were doing the open hand gesture like we were doing before. But you bunch up 3 of the fingers, and you have one sausage still outstretched and the thumb tucked in, because that's usually what the thumb does when pointing. Now we can do another video at some point where we go over the hand in different perspectives, but for now I think this video is most useful for practicing this hand in its basic, easiest format, you know, looking at it straight on rather than from the sides or anything. One more trick I'll show you, and this is one where you don't actually need to do the two circles and the square and the D. This one, you can just do the wrist and a square and a little thumb sausage, and this is going to be a thumbs up sign as if we're looking from the back of the hand. But this is to show you that you don't need to use this technique all the time, and this can be quite simple. When you're going over the details, give it the knuckles, just a few bumps on the end of the square, and there you go. And actually I'm not entirely happy with that, so you can go over and correct that. I'm going to make my thumb a bit more bent to make it look like a thumbs up. If you look at your thumb, it does kind of bend back a little bit when it does a thumbs up, and I'll add a little line for the knuckles as well. And there you go. So that is today's session about hands. I can do hands from other perspectives if you like. Feel free to let Neighborhood Networks know or myself know. Otherwise, till the next video, guys. Thanks very much.